Yes, sir. What's up, y'all?
How's everyone
Happy
feel?
Monday,
What's up,
everybody.
guys? Happy Monday.
Good to see everybody. We got no Miles stage, the three of us hanging out. So if this is your first Monday, we're live every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, as a panel of $20 million plus for the sales experience between the three of us. Do talk about arbitrage, wholesale, all that good stuff. So yeah, good to see everybody.
Yeah,
And,
good to be back.
let us know who we got in chat. Let us know who's first today.
What are you guys working on your end? What's new?
Nothing too crazy. Just continuing the source of machine there.
Nothing too groundbreaking on my end either.
Yeah, I've had a couple good brand direct opportunities come to me through my network over the last week or two. So I'm in the process of kind of vetting those out and hopefully bringing those to fruition. But yeah, it just shows the power of kind of meeting people, just talking to as many people as you possibly can. So many benefits in that. And some of them have come from just in-person meetings too, just like people that have nothing to do with the Amazon world can kind of refer you into people who are. So that's why I always encourage people like, hey, go meet people in person, go to these meetups, just talk to other people in your area. And there's just a lot that can come from it.
Let's see.
On my side, the tariff settling down to 10% was pretty much the best case. Well, the best case as opposed to like actually having the tariffs.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for a second with your stuff, I was like, damn, how much are you going to have to eat versus how much is the supplier going to have to eat versus how much is the customer going to have to eat?
If it was the 28% or whatever it was originally, I mean, there's no way that would have been viable for anyone to eat.
Right.
But settling at 10%, at least for the next 3 months, the next 3 shipments, supply rate about half. We had a couple of percentage points. Joe helped out with 10 cents off his crap.
You're importing some stuff from Europe, right?
Yeah, so it's different countries. So it depends on the country of origin, right? So some of it's coming from Greece, some of it's coming from the Netherlands, a couple different countries. But yeah, 10% across the board for all the stuff we're doing, which especially when the stuff is $10, $12, $15. That's a lot of the.
That's like your whole margin,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And something that I think is interesting, but not very surprising at all, and we covered this in our live stream this past Friday with Todd Welch when we did the Amazon seller news, but a lot of these Chinese factories are essentially pitching unsuspecting Amazon sellers, obviously mainly private label sellers because they're the ones dealing directly with the factory. But they're kind of giving them like elaborate instructions for how to get around the tariffs, aka commit.
It's probably fraud, yeah.
Commit customs fraud,
yeah.
And like people are doing this, and then they're getting caught, and they're like, "Wait, but the factory told me to do it." It's like, well, obviously the factory is in no way, shape, or form going to be held liable. Like they just want to get products out the door, so they're obviously going to say whatever they can say to get you to buy their products, right? And it's just. We're seeing a lot of that. Yeah, Joe Mazan says it's criminal. It really is. It's crazy.
Well, and I mean, anything from China is pretty much cooked.
Yeah.
Like exactly. my best IRL friend works for Web Restaurant, which is like Clark is like that's the company, and all their stuff comes from China.
Yeah.
And so like their entire company is scrambling in terms of like trying to find new suppliers, but like even that's for us, a lot of stuff that's already in process isn't super viable.
I remember one of my best OA products from early on. This actually might have been my first, maybe even my first profitable OA product I ever bought, but it was some sort of kit. It was literally a kitchen sink. It was like like the
was spout. It from Webstaurant?
Yeah, it was from Webstaurant. It was, and it crushed. And I remember it was only FBM sellers at the time. I was the first FBA seller to sell it. I made like $20-$25 per unit in profit and just like kept looping it for a while, and it did really well. But yeah, it's from Webstaurant store.
That's what's up. All right, we got some good questions here. What's up, Armand? Good to see you, man.
Do you recommend VAs? So it depends on the person, right? For the 52-year-old that has a full family and a 9-to-5 career that they actually like, 100%, probably earlier than most, right? Because presumably you have money, right? You have things and obligations that are taking up a lot of your time. And so most people, you either have time or money, right? And so you're in your situation when you have other obligations and presumably money, then you want to make up for the lack of time piece, and a VA is a really good way and a mechanism to do that, assuming set the proper KPIs and you manage it. And Warner can kind of talk for hours about how to manage an entire VA team. But for the college student, right, that has a bunch of time or that's going out drinking on Friday nights and Saturday nights, VA is probably not the best option, that because you don't have money and you have more time than money.
Yeah. a lot of people asking about VAs before they're not ready. Usually I find the people that should have a VA think that like no, I don't need that. I'm not ready for it. And then the people that don't need it are like, oh, I started yesterday. It's time for the virtual assistant, right? Like
that's actually
I'll talk to a dude. It's like, how are you doing $200 a month and you're doing all the prep, all the messages, all the admin? Like, just hire somebody. You're hustling too hard.
That's a great way to put it. It's the people that think they need one are the ones who don't need one, and the people who don't think they need one are the ones who need one. That's actually
I mean, I have no time. It's negative time, and I probably waited way too long to have a supporting team that does a lot of the stuff that I should have been not doing.
Right. Totally.
For sure. What's up, Blake? Excited to learn from him. Good to see you, man.
Let us know if
you got any specific questions for sure. Let's see. This is a good question from Donish. Do you avoid listings where the packaging is slightly different? Some food product, the Amazon listing, slightly older packaging. So as long as you can verify that everything in there is the exact same, then you're generally good to go. So like you're talking about food, it's usually really easy to verify like the grams of everything will be the same. The ingredients are listed in the same order, that kind of thing. A lot of times the UPC will be the same too if it's just like a new packaging update basically. Whenever you're buying something, if you're not sure, is a customer going to be happy buying whatever they're buying from the listing? If yes, then you can pretty much do it as a general rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely subjective. Like, for example, beauty, I wouldn't mess with in terms of different packaging because it's already more IP complaint heavy, more authenticity complaint heavy. So something like that, you're likely asking for more headaches than it's worth. But as a consumer, like Warner was saying, just kind of put yourself in their shoes. If you receive it, how would you kind of conceptualize that experience? Groceries probably an easy way to reason through, just as much as like tools and sports equipment and like clothing and stuff. That's probably pretty easy to reason through as well.
Yep. What's up, Neek? Yeah, there's just a setting on Seller Central. You just gotta enable it. There's a Boxum article you can look at too, man. Just look up how to use GD Barcodes. Boxum on Google will take you there.
If I have a startup budget of less than $100, what category should I be looking to sell that's ungated being a new seller? So if you have less than $100 to start, I would not start selling on Amazon. I would either something good to do that would help build up the skill set in the process is if you really only have $100, go to either yard sales and or thrift stores and find stuff that's super cheap and then flip that stuff on eBay to start snowballing your cash, right?
Time to treasure hunt. That stuff's fun.
Yeah, and it's fun, dude. It's so much like I would do it today just for fun. And I can't tell you guys how many. I think one of my best yard sale flips was I bought $13, like an old box of video games for $13. It was a Dreamcast and some PS1 games, and the owner thought that the Dreamcast didn't work. And these were like hard to find like RPG titles for the PS1. And everything in that box sold for like $320, right? So that's really the only place you can get an ROI like that is thrift stores and yard sales. So I would start there, flip your money into about $500. And then once you have about 500 to work with, then I would start getting into retail and online arbitrage.
I would also look into the Amazon influencer program, right? $0 to get into. Yeah. You likely live with and around hundreds, if not over thousands of products that all can be videoed, all can be reviewed, and you get a small commission when people watch your video and buy that product based on the Amazon sales value. So that's another option. Also, getting engraved with the community, getting engraved with the data, the information, the different products available, all those sorts of things. You get exposed to the Amazon realm while having zero buy cost and the potential to make some good money.
Yep, time to trade time for money until you can afford to buy a lot of your time back with inventory, basically. Let's see. Josephine said you got 2 IP complaints in the last 2 days. Bought some products from Walmart, apparently counterfeit. Yeah. So how about is this fee for your account? So yeah, the main thing is if you're buying from Walmart, make sure it's sold by Walmart. I'm not sure if you checked that, but you got to make sure it's not sold from a third-party seller so that it is easily verifiable. Amazon knows that Walmart doesn't sell counterfeit stuff, so those will work for your documents. And then the big thing is check like the seller counts of the items you're buying. Make sure the brand's not on it. Make sure there's like a good history of there being like lots of third-party sellers on it, basically. And then if you see that banner that says like at risk of deactivation, a lot of times that looks a lot scarier than it is. Like I know like a few weeks ago, like we shipped an order late and we got the banner on our account. Like you're not getting banned just because there's the banner there, but it's basically just like, do what you can to appeal whatever you're going through, more or less.
Yeah, Armand said I hired a VA after 2 million in revenue. So that's somebody that Armand, you probably should have even hired him a little earlier, right? But at least you realize it.
But also, like, what a lot of people get twisted is like a VA is not an excuse to work less, right? A VA is not like you have to put the work into the VA,
right,
to make sure that is compounded in 5x the outcome.
You'll work a lot more in the short term because you're still doing what you were doing, and you're also training your team member,
right? And like if you have a VA or any sort of assistant and you're not having weekly team meetings with them in person, face to face, to build the trust, build the rapport, build the relationship, and provide feedback, you're doing it wrong, right? I've heard of a bunch of people that have all these VAs. They've never even seen them like not in person, but like on a video call, right? You have a chance to build the trust, right? Get to know them, ask about what they like to do, what they're interested in, right? Because those are the sorts of things that will A, make your experience, your employment harder to leave to someone else. And B, once you build that relationship, they're going to want to work that much harder for you.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about VAs is that I think a lot of people think that VAs are just like the easy button and they think they're set and then forget
100%,
it.
yeah.
They think, oh, I'll hire a VA to do all the work
And
that
then
I
it's
don't want to
completely
do.
hands-off.
Yeah. But in reality, even a good VA, you're going to have to spend 20 to 50 hours or more training them and supporting them on an ongoing basis. Like my VAs have been with me, one for over 2 years, one for over 5 years. And I still meet with them on a weekly basis to go over what are they working on? What products have they found? What leads are we buying? Right. So there's still that ongoing maintenance. And that was after, no exaggeration, probably 1,000 to 2,000 hours of training over the last 5 years to get them to where I only have to meet with them once a week. So you have to invest time and effort into training them on the front end and then ongoing, like staying on top of them on an ongoing basis to make sure they continue to do their job.
Yep. No, don't use fake invoices, man. I don't think we'd even need to address that. Use legit docs. You can get them very easily from Walmart, Target, Walgreens, wherever you're buying from.
If I don't have capital up front, is retail arbitrage a viable option in the UK? Would it still be possible for me to win the buy box? So if you don't have, when you say you don't have capital, what do you mean? Does that mean you don't have $1,000 or does it mean you don't have $100? Because if you don't have $100 or if you only have $100, then you're going to want to do what we were telling to, I think, Tolawani earlier, which is go to the equivalent of a thrift store, of a yard sale over there in the UK and just flip stuff on eBay. But if you've got a little bit of capital, then yeah, retail arbitrage is definitely viable and you will still win the buy box as a new seller as long as you have a professional selling account.
Yeah. Just keep in mind that the way you source the product doesn't have anything to do with the buy box. I think you might have a little bit of a misconception there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, as long as you are usually FBA eligible, you'll win the buy box. That's you don't really have enough to think about doing Amazon right now. I would hit the what they call them, like I think they're charity shops over there, I think is what they're called. So hit that kind of stuff.
We gotta
trade your time.
Glorify
like
$1,000 here, guys.
Let's see.
Jobs and saving.
For invoices from Walmart, should you use email confirmation or order confirmation from Walmart's website? They don't provide PDF files. So you guys could probably speak to this better than I could.
I mean, the email you get is an invoice. Don't get too hung up on like the specific wording of what they call things. So you just, print out the email they send. You can also go to like the orders tab of your account. Usually it has like your address and all that kind of stuff nicely listed out depending on the source and all that good stuff. Yeah, exactly, Alex. Yeah, don't no fake invoices. No, don't be shady.
Any shortcut's not going to pay off long term.
Yeah,
right. You're trying to build a career, like a job, like a living, right? And no shortcut's going to be worth it long term.
Yeah, it's like the picture of a dog on gate, that kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
I wonder
Use
if
the
that
word.
triggered a lot of the we want to see your documents again, that kind of behavior. I know that's been going around. Which, by the way, if you guys got any of those emails where they want to see your invoices for the brands you already ungated to sell, then you're good. Those are good things. They're just trying to kick off people that are buying stuff from fake suppliers and that kind of stuff. That way prices stay nice and high, basically. Yeah, George, Seller Amp is more features at half the price, so it's kind of a no-brainer there for sure, Alex. Let's see. What's up, Lee? Good to see you, man. It says you're eligible to add Prime. Been sent it in. If you've been sent it to FBA, then yeah, you should be Prime eligible because that's the whole that's the whole point. Let me know if we're misunderstanding the question there, but yeah, you should be good to go there. Let's see. Andres is asking about winning the buy box. So I mean, as far as like knowing you're winning the buy box, you'll just show up, like it'll say add to cart and your store name will be there. You can also check the little pie chart on Seller Amp. It's mostly price and shipping fee, but there's some other like smaller factors that can go into. Like Corey, I know I'm sure you've seen this a lot doing like wholesale. Whenever you buy a whole bunch of something, you'll win more buy box than like that small seller you're competing with.
100%. Yeah, a good example of that. I mean, there's a product that we actually buy from Garrett, and when it first checked into FBA, we had 2,500 or 3,000 units at FBA, and so when we had 2,500 units in stock, we're selling 110, 150, sometimes 200 units a day because our inventory is really spread out all across the country. It's a different fulfillment center, so it can get to most customers in one day, regardless of where they're ordering from. And today, I think this week we had like 100 or 200 units left in stock. And when we only had 200 units in stock, we were only selling 30 units a day or 40 units a day because we just have less inventory dispersed throughout the country, right? So a big portion of how much buy box you get, and don't take too much stock in this because it's not really anything you can control, but a big portion of what determines how much buy box you get is where in the inventory where in the country your inventory is being stored.
And just how long you've been on certain listings, right? You probably see a bunch where if you kind of click through the different time increments in the buy box rotation, right, you'll see a seller at 2% for 365, then you go to 180, then there's 7%, right? And then 90, they're 20. And then 30 days, they're 40%, right? You can incrementally see sellers gain more equity in that buy box as they've just built trust with Amazon inside a particular market. Show that they're staying in stock, show that they're priced competitively, showing that Amazon can rely on you for part of the market share of a particular product. It goes a long way with buy box ownership.
For sure. So yeah, hopefully you got this understood a little bit, Jojo. If you made some money last year, tax day was like a week or so ago. But you want to talk to a CPA if you need some help, like actually getting things together. There's also if you just look up like Amazon seller taxes, there'll be a good interview I did with our friend Chris Potter, who actually knows what he's talking about and that kind of stuff. So it kind of walks you through like the process of what taxes you got to pay as a seller. Basically, you just want to start setting aside some money, and then you'll have to do it yourself or work with a CPA.
Donna says, does eBay have something like IP complaints and legal issues? Is it easier to start there? Do we need to get ungated on eBay? So you don't need to get ungated on eBay. You can sell anything on eBay as a new seller, as far as I know. But I mean, there are legal issues there just as there are on Amazon. If a brand doesn't want your product being sold on eBay, or if they think that you're selling a fraudulent product, then there are avenues that brand can take to kind of get you or get your listing shut down and prevent you from selling that. But there's way less headaches in terms of selling on eBay when it comes to like account health than there is on Amazon, just because the volume on eBay is so much smaller. So if a brand is dealing with a bunch of issues, they're going to try to focus their energies on Amazon because most of their product is getting sold on Amazon, not eBay. But yeah, in general, if you're a newer seller, it's going to be easier to sell on eBay, but there's also much less volume there. So I mean, I still think Amazon is superior when it comes to online marketplaces. eBay is best, in my opinion.
Just like slinging collectible stuff.
Well, somebody said,
returns.
who was the quote? It's like eBay is the best place to sell if you're going to sell 100 things one time, and Amazon is the best place to sell one thing 100 times.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, eBay is better for like one-off collectible or used products. eBay is great for used.
Do both or put all
sure.
eggs on Amazon? I mean, put all your eggs on Amazon, but obviously not on the same brand, the same product, right? You can operate on Amazon's platform, keeping
Be
anti-leverage.
diverse. Yeah, and be
Yeah,
diverse.
100%, right? You can spread across different categories, across different brands, right? We talked about this last week where Nike did a whole bunch of gates a couple months ago, and a lot of the good people that we know and like, right, were 100% invested in Nike, and their business got put on hold for weeks, right? So there's a way to do Amazon while not being completely leveraged on Amazon.
Yeah, sell
And also,
anywhere you can sell
follow
new
the
stuff. You can
rules,
hit like
you're gonna be
Walmart, stuff
fine.
like
There's
that
nothing
as
to worry
well.
about.
For sure. Let's see. What's up, Miguel? Good to see you, man. Add an apparel back to your purchase. Feel like it's more stable, even with returns. You have no issues. Yeah, it's just any category has extremely problematic ASINs, and then stuff that's going to be good. Like, in clothes, like a specific example is like somebody told me that the Skechers molds are different for every shoe, so you end up getting a ton of returns because like a 6 could be a 7 in a different style, even on Skechers. And it makes total sense. I started seeing a ton of returns on Skechers, so like we just completely stopped sourcing it. Then you also look at white T-shirts. People know that they're a large and it's a white T-shirt. They're gonna keep that. Like
That's true.
it's like the basic stuff. So yeah, it's just about like sticking to the stuff that's less problematic.
Well,
Same
also,
thing goes with
Amazon helps us out
electronics.
with some of that stuff with giving us that return indicator, right? It's
Yeah,
not going to be perfect by any means, but a lot of times some of the higher returned products have that corresponding indicator, and so you can kind of pick your battles with that, right? Maybe you want to buy into something that has that high return indicator that's getting 50% margin, but something that's 8% margin that has that same high return indicator, probably not worth the time. And so you could use that as part of the equation to your kind of product qualifying decisions.
And Miguel was rocking the seller
Yeah,
head
that
shirt in his
company
profile
merch.
picture there too.
dripped out on the. I think he's probably Miami Sellers if I had to guess.
That's what I would think too.
Let's see. Yeah, with groceries, how far should your expiration date be? So it's shelf life of the product plus 90 days for grocery. So I think, does it get auto removed at 90 days or is it 60 when it's that many days out?
It's technically 60, I believe.
Okay. I thought it was 60 and I think it has to be 90 to ship it in.
Yeah, it has to be at
I
least
think,
90 to ship it in.
Yeah.
And beauty's what, like 180 or something? No, I think it's 6 months, isn't it?
I think it's usually the serving size plus buffer.
Plus
so I
a
think
certain
with edible products, I think it's serving size plus 90 days, and then beauty, I don't know if it's
I think it's
that
a little
exact
longer.
same
There's a
formula.
table somewhere you guys can look up if
Yeah.
you're really in the weeds on that. Yeah, what's up, Miguel? What percentage of capital are you comfortable putting into an ASIN or brand? About 75% of your sales were under one brand, and then a bunch of it went restricted. Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you obviously learned the hard way a little bit, like kind of being
75
too.
is heavy.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy on one particular thing. Definitely been there before, but if you're starting to see those numbers, then in my mind, it's just restock the stuff that you're way too deep on. Don't source anything new and spend all that extra capital kind of diversifying a little bit.
But like looking into all those products and on those sellers selling that products, I'm sure you'll find 5, 6, 10 other brands that those sorts of sellers that you're competitive with on those SKUs can lead you adjacently to other products that you can now source. So use that as a launching point to continue to build your business wide and not necessarily deep on those same SKUs. But 70% is very aggressive on one brand. Granted, like Warren said, we've all been there, but not something long-term ideal.
For sure. What's up, Adrian? Good to see you, man. Good vibes. Yeah, let us know what other questions you guys got here. How many times is it too many to there's no limit, Gabby. I've had to submit like 50 plus times sometimes. Usually it's like 5 to 10, 5 or 6, somewhere around there, but
have you found
keep
distributors claiming to be an authorized dealer that aren't? Yeah, I mean, the easy solution to that would be just call the brand and give them that company's name. Ask them if they're authorized to be distributing and selling their products, and oftentimes they're not.
Yeah, and so this does happen, and so this actually happened recently. One of our community members approached me, and he said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know there was a brand that I was about to, or a distributor I was about to order from." And he was like, "I did everything you say. I asked them if they were authorized. They said that they were. They claimed that they were, but luckily the guy in the community, he called the brand to confirm, and the brand was like, we've never heard of this distributor.
Interesting.
In fact, the brand, even their products are enrolled in transparency, and the distributor claimed that their inventory had the transparency codes on them. So the brand actually thanked my student for reaching out to them and letting them know. It's like, well, hey, if this distributor that we don't know or that's not authorized got a hold of transparency enabled units, like we need to know where they came from. So they were really happy with him for kind of putting that to their attention. And he tried to use that as a foot in the door to buy directly from the brand. And this is a massive brand. So they told him no, but they were like, you know, we're not ruling it out because of this value that you added to us down the road. Right. So just, yeah, always ask the brand if you're in doubt.
They'll probably turn into some money later on. Just from
why is Miles a hater?
Miles is trying to
he skips
to
out
get
on the
Corey
stream
banned from
and then
downtown.
he joins as a participant.
As a general rule, though, when you're buying from distributors, your distributor invoice should be one tier away from the brand, right? And your distributor should theoretically be comfortable with providing that documentation if needed, right? So it goes, ideally, you're buying from the brand. If not, there's a distribution company that you're now buying from that would link, if needed, directly back to the brand. And that's how you're going to be most protected in regards to Amazon searches. And how you set that up is fairly simple. With your outreach, reach out to the brand, try and get that account. And if you get that no, fine. Okay, can you put me in contact with any distribution companies that I can now buy this product from? Right, our team is very invested in this sorts of products, and we'd like to carry it, regardless of whether we can buy it from you or not.
13K Caldwell Springs confirmed. Yeah,
nice.
That's good work there, Christopher. I like it. Mother's Day is coming up. Yeah, facts, Adrian. There's usually some really good sales for Mother's Day and Father's Day. Yeah, there'll be a lot of profit opportunity
from here until the rest of the year. It won't be like more than 5-6 weeks without a big sale.
Right.
If that, yeah. I mean, there's still lots of good like Easter sales rolling now.
Mother's Day, July.
We'll start buying for back to school in like a month.
Yeah,
because you want to be prepped on the
July
FBA.
4th will be a big one with a lot of like the sports, like Nikes of the world.
When's Memorial Day? That's pretty quick too, right?
May 24 or something, 26.
Those are usually those are like the best sales until Black Friday. So we got some great buying opportunities coming up.
Yeah, like Labor Day, Memorial Day tend to be really good.
For sure. Let's see. For FPMs, it's better to set your own transit time or opt into SSA. So there's pros and cons. SSA can opt you into some things that are like a little bit too aggressive sometimes. And it can also go on the inverse where it's like way too conservative and you're losing to manual set. The big benefit of SSA is that if you are late and it's not your fault, then like you're not on the hook, but you can end up on the hook if it's your own transit times being set. I have most of mine set on non-SSA, but when it comes to like really busy seasons where it might be like, Christmas time where it's USPS's fault that it didn't show up and then a customer is owed some money, it can be better for SSA. Like I would think about it during kind of peak seasons. Short answer, basically.
Secured brand approval for a company that currently doesn't have any listings on Amazon. Given this unique position, what are the most strategic ways I can leverage this? I mean, likely there's easier, lower hanging fruit, right? Depending on what kind of wholesale business you're running. And a brand that has no built-in volume already on Amazon is going to be way more risky than probably you're looking for right now if you're in that aggressive growth stage, right? Reason being, there's a lot of questions and more questions than answers when it comes to that. You have to build traffic. You have to build the listing. You have to get eyes on that listing. You have to run all the PPC. You have to build the demand up. Whereas typically with wholesale, you're simply just supplying the supply to the demand. Everything's already built into the listing. All the people are already looking at that listing. All you're doing is just bringing the supply to the market, right? Yeah. Whereas with something like that, you have to bring the supply and the demand. So it's likely going to be more.
Or if you're making a listing, then hopefully you're getting access to something that already sells better, right? Like you're getting something. If you're making all the listings yourself, then make your own private label. You're already doing all the work.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, unless this is a brand that you can confirm is already being searched for to the tune of like hundreds or thousands of searches per month that just so happens to not have an Amazon presence yet, then I just wouldn't waste your time.
For sure. Let's see. Yeah, just keep submitting to us and you're good there, man. Why does it say on a bunch of official threads that retail arbitrage is forbidden? Yeah, you see that on like the seller forums. It's just full of people that don't really know what they're talking about. Yeah.
Luckily, I learned early on to never ever read the seller forums.
It's great if you have a specific error code or something like that through Amazon Seller Central. Beyond that, it's garbage.
What's worse, WebMD or the Amazon Seller Forum?
they're equally bad. It's like it's the medical version. WebMD is the medical version of the Amazon Seller forums. Let's put it.
Bro, we've all been there at like 12. We have a headache and diagnosing ourselves with like a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, George. Basically, you wouldn't see arbitrage sellers that have been around for like literal decades if it was not allowed. And a lot of like brand authenticity requests, that kind of thing. It even specifically says, invoices from distributors or retail receipts, that kind of thing. Let's see. How do you calculate fees for product sourcing? Yeah, you don't need to like change anything, William. Just plug it into Seller Amp. You might want to include like a 60 cents a pound for shipping, maybe like a sales tax on your back end, but it'll bake in everything for you basically.
Thank you for your previous answer. Once I have $500 to start OA, what steps do I take to increase that? What categories? Investing in seasonal or all year round products, FBM or FBA? So in terms of categories, there's money to be made in every category. I always recommend people start with something that they know. So if you're a sports fan, start in the sports and outdoors category. If you like to cook, maybe start in the home and kitchen category. So that way you'll recognize some brands that you might already know sell well. And then don't worry about seasonal products. If you're brand new, just start with products that sell well year round. And then you can do both FBA and FBM, right? You don't have to do one or the other. It just depends on the product and depends on how many units you buy and just a couple other factors. But that's kind of would be my advice there.
Absolutely. Sweet. Good vibes today. Want to go ahead and wrap up there, fellas?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds
Enjoyed it,
good.
guys.
Good vibes as always. Make sure you guys subscribe to all these guys all over the place. Garrett, Corey, all our social media handles right here. And then if you want to make sure when we're live, like I'm live at least 3 times a week. These guys are live a lot as well. You can just subscribe and like hit the bell. Sounds cheesy, but you'll get to know when we're live. You can hop on, ask us some more questions, that kind of stuff. And yeah, let's source some profit this week, fellas.
Yep. Enjoyed it, guys.
I'll catch you guys.
Be back next Monday.